Hello everybody, riceballhime here. Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children is coming out as a movie, so I thought I'd do a review of the book by Ransom Riggs. There are 3 books in the Peculiar Children series: Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, Hollow City, and Library of Souls. In the opening book, a grandfather tells his young grandson, Jacob, fantastical stories about a magical island with children who have special powers and are called peculiar. As Jacob gets older, he begins to realize his grandfather's stories don't make any logical sense, and dismisses them as made-up fairy tales. Then when his grandfather dies, under mysterious circumstances, he's killed. It leads Jacob on a journey to find the island his grandfather grew up on. Jacob meets the peculiar children, who haven't aged because their headmistress, Miss Peregrine, is a creature called a Yimbrine. I'm probably not pronouncing that right, but screw it. This means she has time powers, and has used them to trap the peculiars in a sort of time bubble where the day keeps repeating itself. You know, like all those cartoons where everything kept repeating itself and it was really annoying and you're like, my gosh, when is this going to be over? And yeah, that's basically their lives now. They stay there because they're being hunted by monsters called Hollows. Hollows eventually evolve into powerless beings called Wights. First off, I really enjoyed this book series. I enjoyed the darker atmosphere, and the characters and the situations they get into are interesting enough to keep you invested all the way through. But that's not to say the books don't have their flaws. One strength of the book that is also a flaw is that there are several pictures throughout the book that relate to the story. This can help make the story seem more like something that really happened. The downside is when they describe how a picture is supposed to make you feel. In the first book, a person in one of the pictures is described as chilling. What constitutes a chilling presence between one person and another could be entirely different. So in that case, it's probably better to leave the image to people's imagination. There are also a few times in the first book that photographs are used almost randomly and do nothing to further the story. The grandfather shows Jacob a few pictures of peculiars that we never actually meet. They aren't seen or mentioned, and the way the story goes on without them, we wouldn't know they existed at all. So why take time using the photographs to introduce them? Another problem with this book series is that a few noticeable typos pop up. In the first book, when Jacob is at dinner with the peculiar children, he says one of them is named Enoch. But then when Enoch pops up later, the book acts like Jacob has no idea who he is, and it's the first time they're being introduced. Then in the second book, they get 2 of the characters' names mixed up. The books also like to change their own rules for convenience. For instance, one of the children can see the future, and when asked why he doesn't use this to give them more of an advantage, the answer is, he can't see the future of people he cares about. But then, in a later book, he uses his power to see the future of his friend. Did he just not care about that person this whole time? The book never really explains it. They also constantly change their minds about whether or not peculiarity is genetic based on plot convenience. Even the ending of the series feels like a bit of a cop-out. So far, everything I've said has basically been a nitpick. So what are some of the more major problems with this book? Well, first would have to be the romance between the 2 leads. She dated his grandfather, and only got interested in him because he resembles what his grandfather looked like at that age. I can't be the only person who finds that disturbing. I also find the leaders of their peculiar world, the Yimbrines, to be highly suspicious. They get it in these children's heads that they are in danger from these monsters. How are people with powers in danger from those who don't have any powers or abilities, you may ask? Wights use guns. The only thing these people can do are raise the dead, summon fire, control time itself. But no, Wights have guns, so they're completely outmatched and helpless. Then again, they aren't exactly very good with their powers. They don't exactly train to get stronger or learn how to defend themselves. Why? Because the Yimbrins decided it was safer to keep them trapped together in helpless, juvenile states. The book tries to make it seem like the Yimbrins are just being motherly and overprotective, but something about the way they act and how far they go just tends to send up red flags. Even within the first book, Miss Peregrine controls all incoming information the Peculiars receive, resorts to emotional manipulation, and is even willing to let the non-peculiar parent of one of the children die. Basically, Yimbrins find Peculiars at a weak moment, offer them a life of bliss and happiness, and then use any means necessary to keep them trapped. So yes, they're basically the Beldam. The Peculiar children themselves aren't much better. They have serious self-martyrdom entitlement issues. They keep going on about how their horrible lives make every bad decision excusable. Take a number. Everybody has had at least one or two horrible things happen in their lives. Some people have a lot more baggage than others. But according to these Peculiars, their problems are automatically so much worse than everyone else's. Don't get me wrong. This may not be such a bad thing if, 1, they learn something by the end of the book, and 2, if they didn't use it as an excuse to be racists. Yeah, that's right, they're racists. They divide people 3 ways. Peculiars are pure good and superior to everything and everyone. Whites are evil, horrid monsters. And non-peculiars are no better than dirt. It's really amazing how horribly they're willing to treat non-peculiars. There's even a scene in the second book where they're trying to get through a war zone, and all these people, including a little baby, are in need of help. But they pass it all by with some sort of excuse. But then, later, when they meet a Peculiar, suddenly those same excuses don't matter. Of course they'll help her. She's peculiar and doesn't deserve to be in this predicament. Unlike that baby before. These issues are brought up in the story, so you know the book is aware of them, but they aren't ever fully addressed. I'm not saying I want some friendship is magic, everybody has a Saturday morning cartoon instant sugary rainbow out of nowhere turnaround. That would be going a bit too far. But it would be nice if either one of the characters realized that they were wrong, or there was a spin-off book that offered a different perspective on the problems of this world, or something. By the way, on the really off chance Ransom Riggs is listening to this, I'm fully willing to write that spin-off book. I still like these characters. I think they're fun and interesting. But these books have us rooting for the self-righteous racist characters. And by the end, they don't have a turnaround or learn their lesson or anything. Not that they have to per se. There are ways around that. But at the very least, the book should go more into depth with these subjects if they are going to bring them up at all. Ending thoughts? Oddly enough, as much as I've complained about it here, I'd still recommend this book series. Yes, it has many flaws, but there are also many things about it to enjoy. Things you'll just have to discover by reading it for yourself. Overall, it's definitely worth checking out. Once the movie comes out, I'll do a comparison video between the first book and the movie. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. And if you liked my videos, don't forget to subscribe.